Hey guys, it's the AK Geek here, and today we're going to be doing a review of my CZ P-07. This is the first handgun I ever bought when I turned 21, and it's been my carry gun for the past 2 years, so I can give you some of my experience when carrying this gun and give you some advice that I've had from carrying it over the past couple years and, could possibly influence your next handgun decision. So, the nice thing about the P-07 to me, and one of the reasons why I bought it, is I'm not a big striker fired gun fan. I'm just not. I'm more of a traditionalist in terms of I like having a hammer on my handguns, and this gun has enough of that traditional double single action mechanism to it, but also being polymer frame and having enough modern features on it that still make it a very strong contender in today's overly saturated polymer 9mm market. So just some brief specs on this pistol. It has a 3.8-inch barrel. It weighs 27 ounces. It is a double single action pistol, so you can fire it both from the double action mode here with the hammer being down, pull it all the way back, like that, or you also have a very light, very nice and crisp single action pull. It does come with it does come from the factory with a manual decocking lever, which is the preferred method of carry on this pistol out of the box. So you would chamber around, hammer back, and then decock it with the hammer safely resting on a live round. So your first pistol, drawing it out of the holster and firing it, would be in that double action. This does come stock with the Omega trigger from CZ, which is their simplified trigger. And it's pretty nice. I have not really gotten a chance to try some of the older CZs that didn't have this in them. But from what I have a Jericho 941 that was made in the 90s. That's a CZ75 clone, and that has a more traditional trigger mechanism in that, which was similar to the original CZ75Bs, and that has a bit of a heavier trigger pull, so that may be the difference there, because you do have a lot less moving parts in this Omega trigger system, so something to keep in mind with that. These do come with very heavily texturized grips here, which I'm a big fan of. It's very, very aggressive in your hand, which I do greatly prefer. They do kind of have these textures right up here, right above the trigger guard, and I think that's really supposed to give your finger a good memory point to where you can bring your finger up when you're not engaging a target, which is, keeping your finger out of the trigger, standard principles of firearm safety. Right there. It does come with standard 3-dot sights. And I can definitely tell you in the future I'm going to be getting some night sights for this, because I do definitely want those for this if I'm carrying it around at night. This does come with a rail on the bottom for mounting lights and accessories. I do not have a light on here at the moment, but if I ever wanted to in the future, I could definitely add that. It has some pretty aggressive serrations here on the rear and the front of the slide, which is good because if you guys know anything about CZ, they don't have as much slide real estate on them because the slide rides inside the frame there. So you definitely do need some more aggressive striations up top to be able to get a good gripping surface. There is no anti-glare grooves or anything cut into the slide up here, but I have not found that to be an issue. There is some lint on this gun, as you can see, because I do carry it. It is my daily carry. One thing I do definitely like about CZs is their very large controls. So the slide release there is very large, very obvious, and very easy to reach. Decocker is also very large and obvious and easy to get to, but it's not so large that it could be accidentally engaged. These do come from the factory with a manual safety that you can install as well. There are tutorials on the internet to do that. I have no intention of putting a manual safety on this gun because I'm very, very fine with the double action, the double single transition on this, and I do prefer double action for my first shot on that. It's just a bit of a safety thing in my mind from carrying it around. I think that's a safer system than a lot of the paddle releases on striker-fired guns, but that's a topic for a different day. These do come with 15 round magazines, standard. So 15 plus 1. I believe these are shipping now with CZ P10C mags, which I believe this actually is a P10C magazine. So they're kind of standardizing on the P10C magazine, so that is interchangeable with your P-07. If you try to go on Google and type in CZ P-07 magazines for sale, and you're not really going to find a ton, or they're going to be super expensive, that's because the P10C mags have basically replaced those. If I remember correctly, the P10C mags will work in this, but the original P-07 magazines will not work in the P10C. Okay. So talking about carry with this. Oh, before I get to that, I do want to mention when you do get this pistol, it does come in a pretty nice hard case. I don't think it's airline approved, but it is a nice hard case. It does come with a few different things. Comes with a bore brush on there, a lock, which nobody ever uses. It comes with one extra magazine, and it does come with 2 extra back straps and a manual safety. So you get quite a bit of bang for your buck with this, I would say. Now, talking about carry with this gun, how is it to carry the P-07? Well, it's not the most compact pistol in the world. There are definitely smaller options out there, like the Smith & Wesson Shield and some of the XDs and the Glock 43s and a few other guns like that. But this fits into the more Glock 19 oriented style of carry, to where it's a mid-sized gun. You're getting full capacity, 15 plus 1, that's 16 rounds. I would argue that's what I would prefer to have in a self-defense situation. I like to have some more options, because one of the reasons we do carry is because, what if you're in an active shooter situation, and what if that guy's got a gun that, is holding, in excess of 15 rounds. You want to have at least a decent amount of firepower on your person to be able to deal with that. But of course, heaven forbid you'd ever be in that situation, because that's a horrible circumstance to be in. So it is a nice gun to carry. From the way I carry it, I typically carry it either 3 o'clock or the 4 o'clock position inside the waistband. I don't really do appendix style carry, because that really doesn't work with my body frame all that much. I feel, just at least from the way that I wear my clothes and all that stuff, it seems it'd be a little bit more exposed and be more printing if I carried it appendix, which I'm not too fond of carrying appendix. I'm not a big fan of having a gun pointed right at my junk. That's just me. So what I do carry this pistol in is I carry it in a Kydex style holster here. I honestly couldn't tell you the manufacturer of this, because this is going to kind of sound crazy and total hipster here, but I got this off of Etsy, actually. And I believe I got it for about 40 or 50 bucks, and it's custom made to the gun, and it has really good retention. And it's a really good holster. I had the first CCW holster I bought for that was an Alien Gear, and it was like a big bulky thing, and I only wore it once. I'm just not a fan. I really like holsters like this, because you can just, when you're leaving the house, just pop the gun in the holster, and you're on your merry way. So that's a very nice thing. So when it comes to carrying it, the only complaints that I have on it is a little bit of a chunky gun. It's not the thinnest thing in the world, because at least as far as the slide is concerned, it is around the same width as a Glock 19, but it does kind of widen out right here, so that's a little bit chunkier than a Glock 19, so that can be kind of an issue when carrying it, so you have to really wear appropriate clothing to be able to conceal that better. I typically wear some baggier shirts anyway, so that's not really a big problem. But if I'm wearing like a tighter shirt or something, I will generally make sure I have a jacket over it or something, so that way that doesn't really show up as much. Also, and this is just the name of the game, because it's not a single stack gun, it is double stack. You're carrying 16 rounds. And at least in my case, I'm carrying 16 rounds of 124 grain Hornady critical duty in this. So overall, that's some good extra weight you're carrying with that. So it's not the lightest thing in the world to carry either. But I'm willing to take that compromise, just because I like to have the confidence of having a duty-sized firearm that's packing enough ammunition to deal with any situation I would come across. And again, heaven forbid I would ever be put in a situation where I'd have to use this in that manner, but you know what? Better to have this than not have it at all, right? So I have put probably, let's say, 600 to 700 rounds through this handgun through the course of having it. Maybe a little more. I haven't really tracked it as much as I've tracked it on my AKs, because typically every time I go to the range of this, I'd have probably about 100 to 200 rounds on person for it, and I just blow through that really quick. And I would say a safe number would be 7 to 800 rounds through this, possibly 800, maybe a little high. But I've put quite a few rounds through this, and I've never had one malfunction. The only malfunction I've ever had is when I'm shooting Tula or Wolf steel case stuff. But that's just due to like because the primers are really hard on those, and they don't always go off. And that happens on Glock, Smith and Wessons. It happens all the time with Wolf or Tula. But anything other than that, it's never been the fault of the gun. It's just been the fault of the ammunition. So this gun's been 100%. I've carried it in any kind of weather. It's really, really good. The only time, like I said, it can be kind of an issue to carry this around would be during the summertime. Be sure to wear appropriate clothing on that to kind of deal with the width of it. But other than that, it's a great carry gun, very reliable, and I'd highly recommend it for anyone who's wanting something different. That's if you're not a striker fired fan like myself, and you want something a little more traditional, this is definitely a great option for you. So, guys, have any comments, questions, or concerns? Leave them in the comment section down below. I always read the comments. I always like engaging with you guys. And if you guys have this pistol, let me know what you think of it. If you're thinking about buying it, be sure to leave your questions down below. As always, guys, it's been the AK Geek signing off. Hope all of you have a fantastic day.